Welcome to TheSeireitei, a Bleach fandom community podcast brought to you today by Hanataro's Fortification Pills. We put the 4 in fortification. My name is Dell, and today I'm joined by Naomi.
Heya!
And our lovely returning community member, Shini.
Hello!
How's it going, y'all?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Hanging in there. Halloween just happened, so my spirits are up, so that's pretty nice, I guess.
Pun intended, yeah.
Oh, God. You know what? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to take that credit where it's given, not where it's due. What's up?
Yeah, it's a spirited holiday. Why not?
It really is. It's a perfect Bleach holiday. The veil is thin.
Shinigami and everything.
Yeah, truly. Well, we have some really intense episodes to talk about today, so should we just get right into that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hit it, Naomi.
Okay, so we start off with episode 34, The Tragedy of Dawn. After the fight between Ichigo and Renji, Ganju and Hanataro take Ichigo back into the sewers to tend to his wounds, where Hanataro finds a mysterious mask tucked inside the folds of Ichigo's shikatsu, which looks strangely hollow-like in appearance. Meanwhile, topside, Lieutenant Kira takes Renji to care for his wounds, where he is met with Lieutenant Hinamori, and a flashback confirms that the three of them, along with Rukia, were all at school together. Captain Hitsugaya surprises Hinamori and warns her of the 3rd Division, especially if her captain, Aizen, goes out alone. Hinamori later visits Aizen to talk and falls asleep in his quarters. The next morning, woken up late, Hinamori dashes to the streets when she stumbles across a frightening sight of her captain dead and pinned to the wall.
Brings us very directly into episode 35, which is actually called Aizen Assassinated, The Darkness Which Approaches. So, we return immediately to the harrowing murder scene, where Squad 5 Lieutenant Momo Hinamori focuses her suspicions on Squad 3 Captain Gin Ichimaru.
Who does seem pretty sus.
Oh, God. Well, that's true. Oh my God, the first arc is just one big game of Among Us, but we'll get back to that later. Gin's lieutenant and Momo's longtime friend, Izuru Kira, steps in, however, and both Momo and Izuru release their Zanpakuto, which is per the recently issued orders. However, Squad 10 Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro steps in and stops the fight before ordering that both of them be arrested. Meanwhile, we cut to Chad, who has been playing a hit-and-run version of Whack-A-Mole with just about every Soul Reaper who crosses his path, until, however, he makes his way to the territory of Squad 8, where a mysterious, barefoot, pink-clad captain and his bookish lieutenant are lying in wait, one of them literally, the other one less so. And finally, Ichigo and Ganju, having been healed by Hanataro, continue to make their way through the tunnels below the Seireitei, and then they reach the surface, where they are overwhelmed by an immense wave of spiritual pressure, which is coming, we discover, from none other than Kenpachi Zaraki, the bloodthirsty captain of Squad 11.
And end of episode.
Yeah, honestly.
It was all over the place, wasn't it? Ups and downs and revelations and shocks and
flashbacks.
Yeah.
And characters. We get to see what happens to a lot of people over the course of these 2 episodes.
We do. We get hints at backstories. We get confirmed backstories. It's
the backstories.
It is.
Of the present time.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that could surprise you the most is, you can say, Hinamori and her relationship with Captain Hitsugaya.
Ooh, really?
Yes.
Why do you think?
Due to the way that she addresses him.
Okay.
She addressed him as Hitsugaya-kun in the sub, and in the manga translation it was Toshiro-kun. So that kind of familiarity leads to a hint that they do have history together.
Yeah, she talks to him a whole lot with a lot more familiarity than she does with some of the other characters, and you can tell that he rather her address him more formally because he's a captain, but she still continues to address him with that familiarity. So
yeah, it's a lot less formal, isn't it?
Which is kind of cool because up until that interaction, we've seen a very formal Momo, who is, I don't want to say that she's walking on eggshells around her superiors necessarily, but she's really interested in getting things right and doing her best and not making mistakes. Like, she straight up says to Aizen when she comes to speak with him, and when he's like wearing his pajamas doing calligraphy like you do at 11 at night or whatever. And she's straight up like, I promise I won't make any blunders. I promise I'm not going to make any mistakes. And granted, Aizen is her captain, but it's wild to me that there's a captain with whom she clearly spends a lot of time, who she's still like, oh, right, let me just keep myself buttoned up and proper. Whereas with Toshiro, who holds the same rank as Aizen, is someone that she's allowed to sort of let her hair down around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm hesitant because that's what you get from the anime side of things, but what you see with Momo in the manga is completely different.
Ooh, wow. Take that away then. I'm very curious about that.
Momo turns up to talk to Aizen in her pajamas.
Are they
Her
really
hair,
cute?
yep, her hair is down. She's in her pajamas. She's a lot more relaxed. She's lounging on pillows. She's not in the anime. She's there. She's in Seiza, I think it's pronounced, where she's
Yes.
Yep, she's on her knees and she's very formal. Whereas in the manga, she's relaxed on pillows. And then as she falls asleep in the anime, Aizen just gives her his kimono. Whereas in the manga, she gets a whole bed.
She does. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So there's a lot of power imbalance, I think, that you see in the difference between anime and manga. And I'm interested to know why the anime didn't add that kind of level of familiarity. You see Momo much more comfortable, much more vulnerable in the manga than you do in the anime.
Well, I guess the thought that I have first is that their target audience for the anime, at least. I mean, I know that it's a shonen no matter how you slice it. The manga's a shonen also, but they were probably targeting a younger audience for the anime in particular. And so I kind of wonder whether the implications that come about when you have pajamas, hair down, and a bed are perhaps a little bit too adult for what they were going for. Perhaps. And I'm not saying I rule that out. Like, I don't get the sense that because of those panels any sort of activity was either confirmed or denied, but one could come to that conclusion with that imagery, and that may not. They probably wanted to focus on A, the broader strokes of the plot, and then B, they probably didn't want a 7-year-old boy being like, hey mom, what happened with that? And mom going, oh, you're 7. Like, something like that. I'm not sure.
You shouldn't be watching that at your age.
Yeah, I mean, granted, we've already seen Kukaku and her everything prior to this, so if that's what a mom is going to object to, then so be it, but even so.
Then again, you also have to think about they had this on Adult Swim on Cartoon Network, so there's that too.
I don't think that's where it originally aired, though, was it?
No, there was definitely different levels of censorship with the anime.
Yeah.
Because some episodes, when they were first released, they're a lot less bloody, whereas since they've been on DVD and it's more of a select audience now, we're seeing the uncensored version and there's a lot more blood going into some of the panels.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Aizen's death scene, when it was first aired, probably had a lot less blood on it than it did the one that we saw today, or whenever
Probably.
we watched it.
Is the manga considerably bloodier than the anime by chance, or is it about the same?
It depends. I mean, we get whole arms chopped off in the manga.
Yeah. Oh, it's like Kubo's favorite thing is chopping off arms.
I'm not going to chop off your limbs. Yes.
Yeah, the whole Jidambo and everything. So the manga does have a lot more blood in that aspect, but the actual scenes, there's a good panel that I saw in their Bleach wiki. I don't know why I was going to go say Harry Potter wiki then. The Bleach wiki, that you can actually see a comparison shot between two anime scenes of one that's bloodyless and one that is bloodless. One that's got more blood. Yeah.
Very cool.
That is pretty neat. I personally prefer the non-censored original and uncut versions myself, because I feel like you might be losing some of the original author's intent when you kind of dumb it down or cut some things out. So I prefer seeing them originally myself.
Yeah, and I think it just raises the stakes a little bit too. And I think the stakes are already high, especially in episodes like this, because actually, now that I think about it, other than the fact that, the souls in Soul Society are dead in some capacity to begin with, but this might be the first instance where we learn that, in Soul Society
You could
you
still
can
die.
die. But then also I don't think anybody's actually died until now within Soul Society that we've seen, right? I don't think so.
Not
Yeah.
to this point, no.
Yeah.
They've always had Ohime there to save them.
Oh gosh, good point. Yeah, and the fights have come close. People have been seriously injured, but
Mhm.
beyond that,
Yeah, like in these episodes, Renji was in pretty dire straits, and so was
Oh.
Ichigo.
God, yeah.
Although Renji was in more dire straits, that's another good point of censorship, actually. Renji was in more dire straits in the manga.
Oh,
In
really?
the anime, when he was with Kira and Hinamori, he was bandaged, whereas in the manga, he was still bleeding. No one had
Oh,
bandaged him up
God.
yet. Which
Oh,
poses
Poor
the
guy.
question,
no.
who bandaged him up? Because Kira then says, I'll call 4 to heal him, but he's already got bandages on.
Okay.
So who did that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I guess I also just wanted to address within episode 34. So I think it's been very easy for me as a longtime Bleach fan to just take Zanpakuto for granted because they show up in fic all the time. Once you get later on into different arcs, folks just kind of have their Zanpakuto on them kind of constantly. So I forgot until the scene where Yamamoto was issuing the order that says it's okay to carry your Zanpakuto all the time and that it's okay to release your Shikai kind of whenever you want. I mean, within reason. Like, use good judgment is probably implied, but then, like, maybe not. Who knows? It's Yamamoto, and his judgment is questionable at best.
Maybe not against your friends type thing, yeah.
What? But okay, but the thing about that is like, this is jumping ahead to episode 35 a little bit. It is pretty wild that, like, they receive these orders that it's okay to release their Zanpakuto into Shikai, and within, like, 2 seconds, Momo is going after Kira with Shikai, and Kira goes, oh, okay, and then he goes Shikai. It takes him, like, no
Indeed.
time at all. And another thing that I realized was prior to this order, we've seen a few Soul Reapers go Shikai anyway. Like, Ikuku and Yumichika both went Shikai a
Well, they
hot
are from
minute
Squad
ago.
11, so
Yeah,
they
well,
don't adhere to the rules.
I'm sure they don't. But it's just funny that, like, it's funny to me to have heard this permission stated explicitly when I forgot that it wasn't just the way things are, because I think the fandom, it's very much canon versus fanon in that way. So it's actually a big deal, and seeing all of this Shikai for the first time is a big deal, I feel.
Yeah. Also, when you think about it, Shinigami are soldiers. They're all part of the Gotei 13.
Mhm.
And yet, you hear this order, and then they're soldiers, yet they're not generally permitted to carry around their Zanpakuto, and they are soldiers. So that's something interesting to think about it. Yeah, that's your occupation, but you can't always bear your arms. So that's also interesting when you think about it.
Yeah, that's true. Because I suppose they're not generally at war. Generally, they're just fulfilling day-to-day, like, admin tasks, I guess.
Yeah.
Because even, again, in fic and in fan works and stuff, there's like most of them that take place in the Seireitei and the canon universe. Like, I feel like someone does paperwork in every fic I've ever read, pretty. And so you get the sense that, like,
Same.
that's the day-to-day.
Yeah. They go out,
And
they
then
kill a
the
holiday,
occasional
they have to come back and fill a
Holo-shin.
report about what they
Mhm.
did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, most of the time we'll do paperwork, we'll run errands to and from different squads and things like that. And on occasion we'll have a reconnaissance mission, or we'll go and defeat a holo. But then again, even after that, that's still more paperwork.
It is, yeah. And I'm sure that there's paperwork involved in the hollow defeat and all that too.
And the majority of the
You have
time,
to
it's
give
probably
reports.
just one big talk around a water cooler.
It really is. It really is. Oh my god, Bleach is secretly an office comedy.
Bleach, the Office version.
Oh man,
Office
I would
AU.
watch the heck out of that.
The thing that got me is, did you notice when Hitsugaya first turned up and was speaking to Hinamori says, why are you here without your lieutenant? Which kind of, to me, means that normally a captain is never anywhere without their lieutenant. Because if you think about it, Gin was literally there with Kira, so they left together, so they were together.
Right, yeah.
True.
So Hinamori seemed surprised that Hitsugaya was there without his lieutenant.
Okay, which then begs the question, though, if that's true, then where the heck is Aizen? If
Right?
that's where Hinamori is.
Yeah.
True. Or maybe the lieutenants should more so be following the captains and the captains following the lieutenants. I mean, in that case, that might explain Aizen to Momo, but what about Rangiku to Toshiro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there are also probably differing levels of aptitude. And this was like was this at nighttime? I can't really remember.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I mean, I know this is not, we haven't gotten to know Rangiku very well, but I could see her being like, it's 10 p.m. and I'm clocking out. See you later. Like, I don't,
Yes.
I wonder how on the clock she is at that time of night.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I know, she just seems to have that air about her.
Yeah, you're right, though.
She runs on Rangiku time.
She does. Another thing, actually, speaking about squad dynamics that I noticed was in that very beginning part of episode 34. So, Byakuya. Byakuya makes such an ass of himself at the beginning of this episode. Oh my god.
He does.
So he shows up with his hoity-toity airs and everything, and he's like, oh my, well, okay, I think it's fascinating that defeat is forbidden if you enter a fight alone. Is that, like, policy? So that's its own thing. Okay, Byakuya, whatever. Maybe it's just like your noble honor, or maybe it actually is something written into the rules of the Gotei 13. I don't know. But so when,
or maybe it's just Byakuya rule.
Yeah, it could, and it could be squad by squad. Like who knows? But there's a moment when he's like, no, I'm not gonna call squad 4 because I'm being a dick and I want Renji to be incarcerated instead because that makes more sense. But then Gin, who is not Renji's captain, Byakuya is Renji's captain, Gin somehow is able to override that and get squad 4 involved. So
a different captain.
Yeah, a different captain, and like most significantly, I think, not Renji's captain, and like not a person who is directly affiliated with Squad 4 as far as I know. His lieutenant, like, spoiler whatever, Izuru is former Squad 4, and so I guess there could be a connection there, but I don't think Gin cares that much about that component of it. So I just thought it was funny that one captain could override another captain in that way, and that was okay. Squad 4 was like, yep, we'll get involved once Gin contacted them.
Yeah, also Izuru being of Squad 4 beforehand was also one of the ones that recommended that we get Squad 4 to tend his wounds.
Oh,
and Byakuya's like, no, just lock him up. I don't want to have anything to do with them. He also didn't want him to be part of his squad anymore because he defeated him. He wanted him to be let go. Because Ichigo defeated him, he wanted him to be let go. Or he was just defeated. He's like, I'm done with him.
Yeah, way to kick a stray dog while he's down.
Literally.
He's definitely a stray dog.
I mean, yep.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Apparently, Byakuya doesn't like stray anything, I suppose.
Yeah, you'd think that, wouldn't you?
He's much more of a pedigree guy.
Oh, he's so frustrating.
He doesn't exactly seem too likable in the beginning, does he?
No, I mean, he's a dick. He's a straight up asshole. He does not behave kindly towards others.
No.
Is this how nobles act in Soul Society in that case? Yeah, I think you'd be better off not being in the noble quarter.
Well, it's a funny thing though, and like without that could be something to discuss on a later episode where we can say more, but I think unpacking the different behaviors within nobility within Soul Society is kind of interesting, and like figuring out how Byakuya in particular fits into all of that, because there are examples of people who don't behave like Byakuya, and teasing that out a little could be kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, could be. We just know that right now he doesn't seem to be very compassionate to his defeated lieutenant.
No, not one bit.
He's the spoilt child of the kindergarten. He doesn't play nice and he doesn't show his toys.
No, he really does not. Yoruichi thinks so too.
She's back.
Did you have any other anime and manga differences for this episode, Naomi?
I did, yeah. So, during the scene where Yamamoto is giving that announcement that the situation is dire and that they've lost Renji and wartime exemptions are now in place. In the manga, Hitsugaya isn't there, or it doesn't seem like he's there.
Ooh.
There's a panel where they're all lined up, and Yamamoto is literally slap bang in the middle, facing everybody. And there could be a small gap where a small little Toshiro could have been hiding. But then in the very next panel, there's 10 faces, all just kind of sectioned off with a huge circle that says gentleman, which we won't go into because that's a whole other can of worms. But you can you can see from that image that both there were two captains missing, Hitsugaya and another captain.
Yep, could be anyone.
Yep. Who could that be?
I wonder.
Literally, because I watched these episodes with my sister because she is just as much as a Bleach fan as I am, and we literally paused and we literally spent 10 minutes discussing the possibility of whether or not Hitsugaya could be in this meeting or not, because he is clearly there standing next to Gin in the anime, because Gin talks over him to talk to someone else, and he's clearly there in the anime, but he's not there in the manga. So, I mean, where is he? Is he still with Hinamori? But if he was there, then how come Byakuya and Gin made it to the meeting, but Hitsugaya didn't? Is his legs too short that he couldn't walk fast enough, or?
Byakuya's flash step is better, that's how.
Yeah, just tempo, yeah. Though I will say something that I did find interesting in the anime was that when Momo was like, "Oh no, I'm going to be late," note how she just ran normally instead of flash stepped.
I thought the same thing. I was like, honey, why are you, what? Like, because I also don't think this is a spoiler. She's super good at keto, and I feel like manipulating energy all kind of, it doesn't all go hand in hand, but I'm like, really? This is the choice we're making? All right, sis, go off.
Yeah.
But then again, if she did flash step, she might not have necessarily heard the blood drip and find her beloved captain pinned to the tower.
You know what? You're absolutely right. It's literally for the sake of the plot. It's the plot.
Yeah.
It's the full-on plot. Oh my gosh. Kubo. That's fine.
That's what I thought. And that first I thought, why aren't you doing flash step, Momo? And then I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay, there's a method to the madness.
Yeah. Another big thing that wasn't in the manga but was in the anime is the actual flashback scene with Kira, Momo, Renji wasn't in the manga. We don't know that until much later in the manga, whereas we got that kind of big ball drop in this episode.
I believed it's canon.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So yeah, that wasn't in. So that was kind of just a teaser, that whole scene. We do know in the manga that they all went to school together, but it's different scenes that we see that depicted in, whereas this scene is completely anime only.
That is interesting how they decided to include that in the anime.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think actually having that little bit dropped in there before we see Kira and Momo go head to head with each other just one episode later raises the stakes for the anime viewer, probably, knowing that they've been connected for a little while. So that could be why.
Yeah.
And then you will see in a I'm not giving any spoilers, but a little later on you'll kind of see that further reflected in the anime as well. Mm-hmm. So how that scene before will kind of reflect more so into what happens a little bit later. So I could see why they did that for plot reasons.
Yeah. And then the last thing with the manga that I want to touch base on, only because it is quite poignant in the way it is delivered, is this. In the manga, this was the start of a new volume. And as you may or may not know, the volumes have poems written by Kubo himself at the start of every volume.
Oh, I love that about the manga, how they do that.
So this whole volume is called The Flower on the Precipice. And the poem is, "We think the flower on the precipice is beautiful, because our fear makes our feet stop at its edge instead of stepping forward into the sky like that flower."
Oh.
And that really only comes into effect at the end of a chapter where Aizen has just been shown hanging from the wall. And then on the very next page in that ending panel, it's depicted as a flower hanging on the wall, a red. You can expect it to be red, dripping and pinned to the wall. So that kind of symbolism of, Aizen being the flower on the wall, standing on that precipice.
Yeah. And then just another thing that could be tied to this is I don't think it's, we take it for granted that all of the captains have Zanpakuto, but Aizen's Zanpakuto, which I feel I'm gonna say the name of it, whatever. His Zanpakuto is called Kyoka Suegetsu, and the word for flower is contained within that name, just as a fun little tidbit. I'm not gonna say anything about like what it does or how he uses it or whatever, because we haven't seen that.
That symbolism is there.
Yeah, right. But he's got some flower imagery going on.
He does. I'm just posting the image of that flower in our chat,
Sick.
so you guys can see it.
Fabulous. Ooh, wow. It almost it literally looks like it's bleeding. That's stunning.
Yeah, that definitely fits with the poem. That's some strong symbolism there.
Oof, I love that. I love that.
But the fact that this whole volume and the volume art is Aizen, and above the poem is just a picture of Aizen's mouth.
Ooh, baby. Wow.
Yeah. Just to point out that the ending credits was Squad 5.
Yeah!
Yes!
Yeah.
That is so funny you said that.
In my heart for Squad 5.
That is so funny that you said that, because that was something that I did note at the end of the episode 34. If you notice, with the next crop of episodes, while the credit song is the same, they all feature different people. And then, like you said, this one was Squad 5. So you saw Momo and you saw Aizen, and then kind of watching that, you could kind of see how it looks like Momo has a soft spot for her captain.
Yeah.
No, she does. She's very loyal to him. I think there's a lot of love there, truly.
Yeah. The imagery of Momo in her yukata with her head to the side.
Yes.
That's the image of Momo
sweet.
that we get in the manga. That's the sweet and innocentness of that we get in the manga.
Oh, Momo.
So I was excited they added it into the ending scene. I was like, yeah, but I was sad that they didn't actually make it in. I was like,
I know, but I'm glad they did incorporate it somehow. I mean, it's like you get another side, another dimension to Momo, and I really appreciate that.
Speaking of multiple sides to Momo, let's talk about Momo in action in episode 35. Holy moly.
He was on fire.
Right? She's very fiery. Like, her release command is snap. Like, and we get to see that. She snaps, I would assert.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
She snaps.
So something that really struck me about episode 35 is I think we've spoken before on this podcast about squad dynamics, and we've spoken about squads maybe being fairly independent, not knowing much about each other, not working together very well. But I think this episode, it sort of highlights within these individual conflicts, in particular Momo and Kira, but then eventually when some captains get involved too, of pitting people who should be loyal to each other against each other. I found that so striking that in theory, the main thing to be concerned about, and the reason that these Soul Reapers are now allowed to carry their Zanpakuto and release their Shikai whenever, is because they have a Ryoka invasion, and then Momo and Kira go head to head over. I mean, Kira kind of calls Momo out for mixing her personal feelings with a professional issue, but they start clashing in this way over what is ultimately a relatively personal issue. So, gosh, I don't know. I guess. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. But at that point, I mean, he, like you said, he did call her out and is saying, is this really the time and the place to do so? But because she isn't stepping back down, then he's like, okay, well, then I have to do my job as lieutenant and defend my captain. And then he starts the fighting as well. I mean, first call her down on it, but he's like, well, you're not coming down. As a lieutenant, I need to do what I need to do.
Right.
Yeah. And you can empathize with Momo as well, because it can't be easy to look up and see your superior in that state. And even so, like, even if we do take for granted that the Gotei 13 is a sort of military environment, they're not all going to be war hardened. If nothing has happened since Momo joined and they haven't actually seen any aspects of war like this Ryoku invasion, then something like that, it is going to affect everybody differently.
Absolutely. And we know that she's on the younger side of things because we know that she was in school at the same time as Rukia, and we know that Rukia's fairly young as well. So that whole group of people, Renji, Rukia, Izuru, Momo, none of them have been serving for too long, especially not in Soul Reaper terms.
Yeah.
Oh no, we learned in one of the earlier episodes that Rukia basically told Ichigo that she's considered young in the Soul Society, and also that she's 10 times his age. So basically, that means she's approximately 150 years old. So then, when you think about that in terms of Soul Society, that means her, Momo, Izuru, and Renji are fairly young.
Which is also kind of wild now that I think about it. I'm like, shout out to that graduating class. They have a lot of lieutenants. Like, nice work, y'all.
This is our generation right here. type of thing.
Fucking millennials.
Hey.
Izuru just wakes up and eats avocado toast, and Gin gets mad at him about it because he thinks that Izuru should be saving up for a house. R.I.P. Oh my god, I would love for Izuru to be the property owner. That'd be really nice for him.
Okay, Gin would teach him, okay, Izuru, this is how you take care of property, and sets a monopoly in front of him. Okay, this is how you build up property.
And then Gin just spends the whole time cheating, and Izuru is like, what the heck, man? This isn't fair. And Gin's like, sorry, man, that's life. This is realistic Monopoly. Deal with it. Oh, man.
That would have made a good Omaki.
Oh, that'd be really cute.
Yeah.
Oh, Captain Lieutenant Game Night. Oh. Wow. So I get. Oh, go ahead.
Just one more note on Captain Lieutenant Game Night. Byakuya wouldn't be interested at all.
Oh no, Byakuya would take everyone to a comedy show. His comedy show. That's what would happen. Straight up.
Or he'd just be like, I don't have time for this. Go do your own thing. I don't care.
Probably. Oh, man.
I mean, it is funny though. There was a bootleg of Emaki's in which Yamamoto says to everybody that all the squads have to make their own individual video games.
What?
What?
There's this filler episode. Oh no!
It's in the bootleg book, so I think it's manga only. So
I was thinking about the movie making filler episode, and I was like, a video game making episode would have been a lovely companion to that. That's all.
But they all have to make their own video games, and of course, 11's is all like slice and dice, first-person shooter type,
slasher type. The slasher genre.
And there's like loads of other ones, but it just ties in so well with what you were saying with Game Night. It's actually quite funny.
I love that.
Yeah, I have that book. I gotta check that out. I haven't read it yet.
So pivoting a little bit, I just want to talk about Chad for a minute because I feel like no one ever talks about Chad.
Like, where's Chad
needs some attention and love.
Right? I think this is a cool little insight into Chad's character. I think it's nice that he is in this really high stakes situation, and he's remembering his friend, and he's motivated by his friends when he's thinking about that flashback when Ichigo got all beat up. So that was nice, but then I also...
He's kicking ass and taking names, just doing his thing.
He's not even taking names because these bitches are NPCs, dude. He's literally only kicking ass.
And then he'll get his little bit of information from them and then move on.
Yeah. So I just wanted to acknowledge Chad in that way. But in the wake of that little flashback scene that Chad had, I thought it was wild that Ichigo, the head of being terrible at all things to do with power management and spiritual pressure stuff, can sense Chad's spiritual pressure. He just casually mentions this to Ganju.
Right?
And I was like, wait, what the, you didn't even know that you were leaking Ryatsu for 1 billion years and you can sense Chad's spiritual pressure? And I was just like, oh my god, they're such good friends. It's so cool.
They have such a bond, such a connection there through, everything that they went through, their bonds, the promise, that there's just that connection there.
And now
Yeah.
it suddenly makes sense to me as to why there are Ichigo Chad shippers.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I've seen I've read some really, really cute Chad. It's not just Ichigo. I've seen a couple that I really like where he was shipped with Uryu actually, and it was really sweet. But like mostly the fics that I've read where Chad gets shipped with someone else from the Karakura gang are just really sweet and wholesome, and everyone is kind to each other. Like I read a good bunch of those a while back because I was just looking for those like good wholesome feels, and so Chad fics often deliver in that way. It's very nice.
Yeah, he's a kind-hearted giant.
Yeah, he really is.
How can you not like Chad? I mean, come
Yeah.
on. He needs more airtime, he needs more love.
Yeah, he really does need more love. I also feel that I would be remiss if I didn't just like bring up the little insights into character that we get into this new captain who he's only on screen for a couple of minutes here. But we
Yay!
have the 8th division captain
I'm already intrigued by
saying
him.
words for what I like, which this is not going to be the first time I acknowledge this, but his voice actor in Japanese fucking sends me all the time. I think Kyoraku has one of the sexiest voices in the whole entire Japanese cast. My god. Like I can't with his voice ever. So
as soon as I hear it, like, that is straight up Byakuya right there. I mean, that is so him. I'm like, I love it.
Yeah, so that will continue to be what it is forever because it's perfect and I will always be really excited about it. But the thing in particular I wanted to mention about this short little scene is so up to now we've seen some very like firebrand kind of captains. We've seen Kenpachi, who is Kenpachi, and then we've seen like Gin being like Mr. Sneaky Snake Man all the time. I guess like Aizen has been like reserved, kind, polite, so that's a little bit different. We've seen Toshiro, who like constantly has attitude, but also has a level of like directness and fire to him. This is
maturity too.
This is maybe the first time we've seen a captain who like is watching and listening a little bit more and is like
More laid back.
More laid back, ostensibly, yes.
Yeah, he's
just
a bit
because he's
calculating
like literally
as well, isn't he?
Calculating is more what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
He seems like he's not a rash person, and
he thinks before he acts.
Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to name that. And I also think it's interesting that, you know what, I didn't pay attention to the actual words he used because I was watching the sub. So in the sub, before he says, because his lieutenant is like, oh, I'm going to go out and deal with this. And he's like, no, that's not the move here because we can't have another defeat on our hands. Yamamoto needs us to look strong, and that's what we're doing. And then there's like a cute little moment where like she tells him off and he like is flirty and stupid, which
he doesn't want his Nanao-chan hurt.
His Nanao-chan. But
and then like she smacks him with her
fan.
What was it, a fan or something? She just smacks him, and then he's like, "Oh, that
hurt." But he then goes, "Oh, I'm just gonna have some fun." And it didn't occur to me to listen closely again and see whether he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna play," or if there was any like anything with the kind of thing where like, if you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. I didn't take a look at those words, but that aside, I wonder what this person means by having fun in this case, because if Kenpachi says that, you're like, he's just gonna charge out there and beat up some dudes. What is having fun with Amir Ryoka to this person? So I'm just excited and I love him, and I didn't want that to get in the way of like actual analysis, but I love him and I'm excited that we got to see this little scene, basically.
Yeah, he is one of my favorites, I'll admit it.
And the relationship between him and his lieutenant, as you say, who he calls Nanao-chan. Like, you don't see, you wouldn't see Byakuya go Renji-chan.
Oh my god, can you
imagine? He doesn't have a Renji-kun or anything like that.
Already you kind of get a sense of their relationship as well, which is truly interesting, and you just kind of want to see more of them, and you want to find out that whole dynamic and how that whole confrontation, if it can even be called a confrontation, goes between Chad and if they ever meet.
Yeah. You get the sense that he's not really worried either. You get the sense that he's like,
No.
I'm
He's
gonna
very
go out and I'm gonna
placid.
handle this.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's not ruffled or anything. He's just like, this is, to him, it's almost just par for the course. I'm just gonna go and see what's going on. There's no need. And he told Nanao not to worry. So obviously he thinks this isn't that big of a deal, or he feels like he's got it covered or something. I mean, he doesn't seem ruffled at all. And then he's
No.
reassuring his lieutenant that everything's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yet he's going to play. So, like you said, what
Yeah.
is his play compared to Kenpachi play?
Oh God.
So, anytime you hear Kenpachi's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out, yes, yeah, true. Oh, what's Kenpachi doing? Like, oh, Kenny went out to play, and you're like, oh no.
R.I.P. to somebody. Naomi, were there anime and manga differences that you noticed in episode 35?
There wasn't. No, the only things were the Shikai release commands. That were
Ooh.
really interesting.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there
So-
was a difference there.
Yeah, so Tobiyume, which is Momo Zanpakuto, in the anime we know was Snap, which was so fitting with the way that her whole mannerism just changed. But in the manga, it was deflected.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yep. And then Kira's in the anime was Raise Your Head, Rabisuke, which is so fitting when you finally know what Rabisuke is and the whole premise behind it. Whereas in the manga,
Everyone knows
it
a
was
lot about swords. You can kind of take a look at the shape of that weapon and draw some conclusions. But yes.
Yeah. But it was Show Yourself in the manga.
Whoo, baby.
Which got me singing the song from Frozen 2 for like the last 5 minutes of the episode. It was nice.
Show yourself.
Yep. But that was, other than that, we didn't even notice any kind of little differences between the words or anything. It was all pretty much, it was all pretty much just that. The only other thing was Ganju and calling Orihime a cutie pie.
Oh, yes.
Ew.
But also referring to her hair color as walnut or chestnut, depending on if you watch the anime or the manga. And
Yes.
I was like, walnuts and
then
chestnuts? Hasn't she got red hair? So there was that whole...
Also, he called her chick, and then Renji. I mean, not Renji. Ichigo's like, that word isn't in anymore, and then Hanataro says, "In isn't really in anymore either."
That's very cute.
And then Ichigo nubbies him. He's like, up, and then
It just means that Ganju hasn't seen Hocus Pocus because he don't call people chicks. It's never a good look for anybody.
Yeah, but it was cutie pie in the manga, which was it's kind of softer. But again, Ichigo says we don't use that word anymore.
And also, just I don't know. It feels super gross. Like she's in high school. Ganju seems like an adult. I don't know. He seems like his physical presentation is adult-like. He acts like a goddamn child all the time. But
that's why Kukaku beats him up incessantly.
As well she should. Yes, queen.
But yeah, other than that, the episode was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I had, other than calling out the fact that the closing credits featured Squad 3 and something... Oh, no, sorry.
It was
Squad 10. You're right, sorry.
Yeah.
What I meant... Well, okay. What I meant by that, it was Squad 10. My bad. But then you get to see the lieutenant of Squad 10, who is Rangiku. She's like a little child in some of them, and you get to see a little baby.
Her with Gin.
A little baby Gin. That's why I said Squad 3. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, there was definitely a collective aww in my apartment because it was adorable, and I can think of one person in our lovely Discord server who is probably jumping for joy at that little scene. Shout out to
that was sweet.
Shout out to Rangiku. Yeah.
Ginran shippers out there.
While we're on the endings of the episodes, my sister and I did actually watch the filler episode that was at the start of these.
Nice.
Just for something to watch while we were eating our ramen and homemade gyoza, because that's what we normally do. And it was Squad 7. So if you didn't see the filler episode, you missed out on seeing Squad 7, who is this big giant of a man wearing what seems to be a bucket around his head with rather inhuman-like eyes peering through, and his lieutenant of, again, another quite bulky kind of guy, showing his shirt. Very testosterone boost guy that you see there, and that's what you missed in the filler episode.
He was the one holding back a Momo with Rangiku as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, with his sunglasses on, because
Yes,
sunglasses make a guy look cool, apparently.
yes,
all the time. They make every single man look cooler. Sunglasses, no shirts. Get it, dudes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh boy, I can't wait. Wow. It's like my favorite thing. It's not my favorite thing, but I have thoughts and feelings about it.
And just one more comment going back to who's holding who. When we were not only did you have two people holding Momo, which was Rangiku and that lieutenant, you only had one person holding Izuru.
Yeah.
Izuru didn't start the fight, so maybe they thought he was less likely to try and break away, or maybe they just think Izuru's a fucking noodle, which he kind of is sometimes.
But did you notice how...
I actually like him a lot.
Yeah. Did you notice how kind of protective Hitsugaya seemed over Hinamori, though?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
There was definitely even more teasing and insight between their characters as well, as to why Hitsugaya is so protective over her.
I mean, you see that familiarity with the way she talks to him, but then you can also see how protective he is of her. So that definitely makes you think there is some history between them. I mean, the way he told Gin, if any of Momo's blood is spilled, I will kill you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's not playing.
It shows a whole different level to his character, though, because normally you see this, you see him as a kid trying to be, he's not trying, he's acting like an adult because he wants people to judge him not by his looks, by his power. So you see him as quite, firm and strict. And then you see the softer side of him. So that the contrast between the two is really nice.
And something that just occurred to me now is for any listeners out there who, if anybody is either only watching the sub or only watching the dub, you're going to see some very different choices in the casting of Toshiro's voice actor. If you're watching the Japanese, it's going to be a higher pitched voice, like a boy whose voice hasn't changed yet. And if you're watching the dub, it's going to be a lower pitched voice, like a person whose voice has changed. So just, I think a lot of people do know that, but on the off chance that someone is only watching one, has only seen one, whatever, I figure just worth calling that out.
Yeah, but shout out to Toshiro's Japanese voice actor, Romy Park.
Yes.
She's amazing, like
She's
literally.
So good.
Yes. And then she sang as Toshiro in some of the character song albums as well.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love the character songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I have the entire collection.
Same.
So I mean, so obviously it's the Japanese voice actors. They didn't do that with the English voice actors. So I generally watch the sub, and so I'm used to those particular voice actors and everything. So it just adds a whole nother dimension with their character songs, and I'm like, that is literally Toshiro singing, or that is literally, Gin singing, or whatever. It's just
oh god, his are wild.
Yes.
Yeah. They also they did a series of covers of opening and closing themes that are sung by some of the characters too, and so those are different from the character songs, and they give me so much life. Some of the people just like, there's just a lot of raw emotion in these people's voices. I guess that's why they're voice actors, because they're like hot take good at what they do. But I just love it. I just love hearing that. So does anybody have any last thoughts about episode 35?
No.
I think I'm good.
No,
okay.
All good.
In that case, shall we move on to delving into the Dangai?
Yeah.
Yes, we shall.
So there wasn't much this last couple of weeks in terms of news. The voice actor for Ichigo, the English voice actor for Ichigo, Johnny Young Bush, did tweet out that he had filmed his own movie back in January, and it was available to watch for a limited time. So if you wanted to find out more about that, do check out his Twitter, which is at Johnny Young Bush. And then the second installation of the Can't Fill Your Own World novel serialization is out this month, and this is a translation of a novel that was published back in 2017-2018 for Japan, and we're finally getting the English translations for it. In the US, it is released on November 3rd, so by the time you're listening to this podcast, it will have already been released. And then for those of you like me in the UK, we have to wait a little bit longer, and it comes out November 26th.
Still exciting though.
So, shall we move on to our Shinigami Cup Peroxide Edition now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Sure.
fabulous. Pals, who do we think wore it best this week?
Naomi, you want to start?
Sure. So my who wore it best is Momo wearing Aizen's kimono. Just because that little bit of sweetness, of that kind of protectiveness from her captain as he drapes her with his kimono. It was really sweet to see, and I really like that. And there was a lot I unfolded from that, but that was definitely my who wore it best.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a sweet moment too.
Shini, what did you have?
Okay, mine was Gin and his creepy grin. Hey, that rhymed. But I mean, you could tell. I mean, just watching him or looking at him, I mean, he just seemed very sus. It just
Very
seems like
sus.
he has something going on.
All the
You
stuff.
know, I don't blame Toshiro for keeping his eyes on him, but you could tell he's just hiding something. And then, I mean, and then the fact that his eyes always seem to be closed and all that just makes him seem even more,
Mm.
So I'd say, granted, he's not really putting on anything, that's just part of who he is, but he wears it very well and very creepily. So you probably wouldn't want to run into him wearing his creepy grin in a dark alley at night. Just
Oof,
no.
Nope. I'm a pass on that. I had this week, glad that it's canon. Oh my god. Little baby Kira from the flashback scene wearing a smile and wide-eyed optimism.
He just looks
Because
so
when you
happy.
see him in the main arc, he just
He's
looks
so
so
cute.
beaten down. And I just like knowing that he was a happy boy once.
I know. It's like poor little
But
Zuru.
what
I know.
happened?
I know. Well, stay tuned to find out. Oh god. Anyway, best ship, y'all.
My best ship is Hanataro and Vitality.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh yes.
Just the way he takes a little pill, which, by the way, is stated in the manga is just a placebo effect, as his superiors created his to be flower flavored, as a prank.
Yes, poor Hanataro.
Yeah.
They have the real stuff, and then here, let's just give him this one that doesn't do anything really.
Yeah,
And the
he
boy
thinks it's
worked so
standard
hard.
issue, but he's holding something his superiors created as a prank. It's different from the medicine the other members of his company carry. Its active ingredient is flour.
My goodness.
Poor boy, and he thinks it's the real thing, and then he takes it, and then you have but in the anime he takes it, and then you see Ichigo and Ganju staring at him like, well, he says, don't I look like I'm brimming with energy? No, you look exactly the same.
Yeah. He just seems just so, and then he runs up the stairs. He's like, look at me,
Yeah.
I have energy.
He's got an excellent brave face, truly.
Oh, he does.
He does.
Shinny, your best ship?
Oh yes. I'm giving this one back to Momo again, because I really liked it when she had that, when she snapped at that moment, and that just look on her face. You can just tell. I mean, the anger in her eyes, and then you could just tell that she was furious. She was so convinced that it was Gin who did that to her captain, and she was just ready to go and rush at him and then mean business. I mean, that's the most passionate that we've seen her thus far in this series.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
far. And just to mention another little thing about it, she was coming at him, she was going to attack him. It seemed like Gin wasn't going to do anything, but then if you remember a little later in the episode, Toshiro was saying to him, you were going to kill Momo, weren't you? The point is, my ship was Momo, and that expression on her face, I mean, that was just full of anger and passion, and it was just like, wow, different from what with a little bit we've seen from her. It's like a total 180.
Nice. Mine is somewhat related to that. I don't know, man. So initially I was like, oh, is this going to be like Momo and Kira teasing out their relationship as far as best ships go in this way? It was like the thing that interested me most, I would say, relationship-wise over the course of these episodes. But I decided to like try and be artsy with it and say that I'm shipping Wabisuke and Tobi Yume as they like clash. Because as everyone knows, if two characters fight, they will be shipped. So
That's like
but
anime
I'm
law.
also just like excited that we got to see both of them in Shikai. So I don't know.
Yeah.
They got dressed up. They didn't take each other out to dinner first, but we ended up where we ended up. So
Yeah.
that's my ship of the week.
Very nice.
It's a good one.
All right. And last but certainly not least, double take.
So yeah, it'll probably come as no surprise, but my double take was Momo and the differences between her conversations with Aizen between the manga and the anime, with her showing up in her pajamas and her just coming straight from work with her Zanpakuto in the anime. That was my double take.
My double take was the first time I saw Aizen murdered and pinned to the tower. The first time I saw that, I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! Is that Aizen?" And then just like, "Whoa!" It did not. The first time I watched it, I did not see that coming. So it was like,
yeah, it's a big shock. It's a big pivotal plot moment. I think the biggest one we've had so far, really, pretty much. Other than like maybe Ichigo literally becoming a Soul Reaper in episode 1. Like it's a big deal.
But it took 35 episodes to have another big shock, so
yeah, I mean, yeah, the build-up was really successful, I felt.
yeah. And if you didn't see it coming, it was definitely
oh god, yeah,
out of the blue, and it has you hooked. If you didn't, I think this is a defining moment for Bleach. If you weren't sure about Bleach right now, you probably are now, because you want to know what happened. You want to know exactly what is going on.
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched Bleach, I watched all of it quite quickly, but I remember after these 2 episodes in particular, when it was revealed that Aizen was killed in this way, I watched the last, I don't know, third or whatever it is of this arc so fast. I couldn't stop. I was absolutely obsessed because everything just started snowballing and snowballing and snowballing, and this is kind of the thing that sets it off. But anyway, bringing it down to whatever. My double take was super silly. Kind of. I don't know. Petty for sure. Byakuya had a moment at the beginning of episode 34, after he's taken a look at his bleeding, maybe dying lieutenant, and he's like, no, we're just gonna like have you incarcerated. And Momo is like, what? Byakuya turns around and just like does this hair flip and starts walking away. And I was like, sir?
Sassy
What?
Byakuya.
Oh my
the
god.
hair flip.
So petty. Such a petty move. Exactly correct for his character, but there was like a little moment in the animation where the hair was like especially swooshy. Ugh. It shook me. I didn't know what to do with that.
Well, you know, nobles use the best shampoo and conditioner out there. So
Well, that just
Because
caused
they're worth
That's
it.
been my answer the whole damn time. Ugh. Whatever. We'll get there one of these days. You're not wrong, though. I also have had canon for a minute that Byakuya learned some hair care tips from an older mentor with fabulous hair as well. And that's canon in my heart. It's going to be canon forever. And if you know who I mean, and if you don't know who I mean, honestly, by this point, I'm more surprised because I have thoughts and feelings and opinions. But if you know who I mean, then you know who I mean.
I'm with you. Yeah.
So, on that note, do we have fandom shoutouts this week, y'all?
I do.
I have one too.
Cool. Go for it.
Okay, so my fandom shout out is in the heat of the season that it was, as time of recording yesterday, a cute little joke between Renji and Rukia. And if you listen to last week's podcast, you'll know how deep in my heart Renruki is. And so if I just find out where I am, there it is. So it is by recurring Polynya on Tumblr, and just a shout out to this creator. Their Renruki fics are literally the most amazing thing, and I am probably a huge fan of their work. And anything Renruki, I am there, I am reading. But this particular joke, it's a cute, corny Halloween joke. The artwork's just cute as well. And it's literally just, hey, Rukia, what did the ghost say to his wife? I don't know. What did the ghost say to his wife? You are so beautiful. It's totally one of those dad jokes that totally fit Renji's character. And they just look so cute together, and Rukia is laughing with him, and it's literally the most adorable thing ever. So yeah, that
It is cute.
I like
by
that.
recurring Polynya on Tumblr, and they're just Polynya on AO3 if you do want to check out any of their Renruki fics. I highly recommend it.
Awesome.
So cute. Yes, I like Renruki as well. So, for my fandom shout out is someone called The.mermaid Storytelling, also known as Me.mermaid on Tumblr. She does beautiful Bleach fan art and doujinshi,
Ooh.
fan manga. Though I will say she originally writes the doujinshi in Spanish, but she will translate them into English eventually. And then I've seen some really cute Ichiruki ones. I think I even saw one where she kind of did a little Renbya, Byakuya and
yeah.
Renji. She did a little bit of Uryu and Orihime, and then it's just so cute. She just did one for Halloween, and let me just post this in our little chat area, but it was a little Halloween one she did of Ichigo and Rukia for Halloween, and it was just so cute. So let me just post that there. There it is.
Okay,
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Oh.
I've shared their artwork before. They had a cute little Burn the Witch crossover piece they did.
Oh, right. I knew this URL.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
And
Yes.
I actually saw that scrolling through my Tumblr as well. I was like, oh, that is cute.
It is very cute.
Yeah. So
Oh.
it's The.mermaid Storytelling, or me.mermaid on Tumblr, but also you can find her on Twitter at Jennifer2, JENNIF3ER2. I definitely recommend checking out her art and doujinshi.
Awesome. Mine is not overtly Halloween themed, but it is like, and I do want to say before I like drop this in the chat and before any of y'all go and take a look at this work, like this is material that does require a bit of a content warning. There's blood, and then if you scroll through this person's Tumblr, there is there's some violent imagery, and there are definitely final arc spoilers. So if either of those things are things you're trying to avoid, and there's like some sort of harm-based imagery as well. So if those are things that are triggering for you, I would say don't have a look at this artist's work. However, I pulled this one today because this is for all my Kira stans out there. This is a fan artist who just has a really modern, exciting art style to me that I think captures a lot of like the sadness and despair that we get to see when we hang out with Kira for extended periods of time. So the one that I'm dropping in the chat is the one that I saw first. But then I'm going to drop another one that sort of just, it's a very tame little piece of just like little Kira sketches that kind of exemplifies this person's art style. I will say also that this person does ship Kira, it seems to me, or at the very least there's like shippy art, and so if there are like potentially unhealthy ships that Kira sometimes ends up in fic that you don't like, I would say don't look at this Tumblr for that reason as well. But with all of those caveats out of the way, this is Crying Little People on Tumblr, and I just haven't seen any Bleach fan art in an art style quite like this before. And I find it really exciting. If, by the way, if you're the kind of person that like is really excited about some of the stuff that happens to Kira in the final arc, definitely check out their work, because there's some cool. It's like, again, not super Halloweenish overtly, but there's like some dope undead AU stuff going on that I find I just haven't seen it before, and I really, really dig it. So, Crying Little People on Tumblr. All those content warnings apply, but if those are not things that are triggering for you, you're gonna find some really unexpected, exciting, and just different Bleach fan art that I that I really found myself responding to. So that is my shout out this week. And this person just did an Inktober thing on their Twitter as well. So if you, so they're still active. They're churning out a lot of cool stuff at the moment. So that's pretty neat.
Oh, that's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that's it. Does anybody have any final thoughts, feelings?
No, I'm good. I just hope everybody's enjoying the podcast, enjoying the anime, and there's more to come.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next couple of episodes.
God, I know. Oh, so much.
So exciting.
And I guess that's where we will see all of you next. So that's because, you wonderful souls, that is in fact the end of another episode. If you liked what you heard and you want to get involved, you can find us by searching for TheSeireitei on Tumblr, Instagram, and Facebook, and TheSeireitei on Twitter. Each of these platforms will link you to our fantastically deadly Discord family, where you can chat with us about the show, read fanfiction, take part in creative challenges, and talk anything and everything Bleach.
There's a lot of Bleach art too.
There is, that's true. Now, Ichigo and Rukia might reap souls, but we are hoping to reap some 5-star reviews, and that is where you come in. Make like our favorite orange-haired protector, and go to iTunes to rate us and review us and make us feel like number one. To those of you listening on YouTube, don't forget to be like Chad and give us that good thumbs up. We really appreciate it. On the next episode of the podcast, we'll be covering anime episodes 36, Zaraki Kenpachi Approaches, and 37, Motive of the Fist. We'll see you souls then. Till next time, bye!
Bye!